Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Courtney Legal, and I work with the Engineering Management and Leadership Program. Today, we're going to talk all things skills needed to be a leader in engineering, and we are joined by our academic director, Dr. GB Singh. To kick off our discussion on the skills needed to be a leader in engineering for 2025 and beyond, can you share a little bit about your background, particularly your experience as Director of Engineering Operations at Solar Turbines, and how you transitioned into that role?
Yeah, great question. Leadership skills are probably, as they say, you cannot really learn those skills just in the school. You get the basics in the school, and then the experience is where you kind of, grill them down. And that's that's what happened with me. I did my education in engineering. I did my PhD in engineering, but then I also felt like I needed some sort of a business degree, so I did my MBA. And that's the amalgamation, I would say, I had in terms of the raw degree, or I should say, raw technical skills that I got from the school. How I ended up into engineering was engineering. I'm hardcore engineer. I did my engineering in controls engineering. I did my PhD in the same subject. So it was a very natural progression for me to, continue my career through different leadership rungs into a position like director of engineering. Following that stint, as I was alluding to earlier, I realized that if I want to continue growing into my current company, Solar Turbines Caterpillar, then just remaining siloed in a technical track was not something that would take me too far, and I wanted to expand my skills and my experience. So eventually, I got into the role of director of business management, which is more of a commercial role, if you would, which has direct connect to our customers, global customers. So I have responsibility of managing all of global execution for our company. So that's how, my journey started. Just to recap to your question, my journey started, having strong engineering degree, added my business degree to it, and then eventually from engineering landed into a management or more of a generic commercial role.
Excellent. And could you please share how you transitioned from a more siloed engineering operations role into a broader business management position? And then what key experiences, skills, or really connections were essential in helping you grow into that leadership role?
I would probably say you have to work on these things in a way. I always say you have to think through these pathways way ahead of time. So there are a few key ingredients for you to make sure that you have those pathways clear. You don't, mine was not accidental. It was something that I would probably attribute to a couple of things. One is that always had great mentorship in my organization. I always had great people surrounding me who would give me good career advice on how should I go to my next step. So that was mentorship was one. Second, as a part of that discussion with leadership and around me, it was evident that I'll have to broaden my skill sets. One of the things that I had to do was to take few assignments that were more global in nature. So I took some sales assignment out in Indonesia, in Jakarta. I took a service assignment in Singapore. I did several projects which were deep down in African continent. So, you kind of work on these different skill sets, customer base, understanding different parts of the business, and that probably was the main, I would say, pathway. That's how I created a pathway for myself to land into a market facing, or as we can say, a business role.
So, given your extensive experience in various management roles, how do you feel the role of leadership in engineering has evolved in recent years?
So I was leading prior to this role, as you mentioned, Courtney. I was leading an engineering organization of about more than 600 people, which were spread globally. So that probably is one thing that has changed dramatically in last 10 to 15 years. Most of the organization are probably more and more seeking, their footprints, which are in the low cost countries. Having engineering organization pretty much in one location are the days gone. It's a thing of past. What you will be seeing more and more is distributed teams leveraging the knowledge across the globe in different parts of the world. So having multidisciplinary organizations which are embedded in multiple different locations, how do you manage these kind of organizations in different countries in different time and space is probably one of the biggest change than the conventional way of managing engineering organizations in past. So that to me is one. And then the other piece I would say has also changed significantly is that with the tool sets today, you have the advances that have happened in simulation practices, modeling practice, the tools that are out there, and then you add on AI to that. The all the advent in engineering technology tools that are available today, the engineering time, or I should say probably new product introduction time, continues to squeeze. And it is a very normal expectation that products will hit the market far more sooner than they used to hit in past 10 years. So those are the two big things that are happening in today's engineering world.
And in your experience, engineering leaders often balance both tactical on the ground
Mhm.
tasks and broader business or organizational leadership responsibilities. Do you think that the role is shifting more towards one of these over the other? And then what are the key processes and tasks that engineering leaders should be focusing on in their work?
Yeah. I'll probably divide this in three parts, three sections, I should say, to answer your question, Courtney, around what major tools and processes will engineering leaders will have to address. The first part is around people. So, and my three sections I'm going to address is people, process, and tools. Because really, people cannot be removed from process, and process will not succeed if you don't have good tools. So people, process, and tools are going to be the three areas that I'll quickly give my commentary on. On the people side, what you will need far more understanding of, what all different challenges individuals are having, understanding their needs. It's one thing to understand their personal needs and how are they doing personally, but also where are the bottlenecks for them? Are they really needing resources? Are they really needing some tools? Are they really needing some training for them to keep up with what you are asking them to deliver? So knowing your people, knowing the bottlenecks of your people is extremely important. On the process side, what is going to be very important is today's world is it's an ever-changing world. For example, if you probably needed 10 programmers to do a Python programming with AI, probably you just need four because those tools are today available for you. So you will have to continuously revive your processes, and processes are becoming stale as days go by. So continuously updating your process, given what is happening in the industry, is going to be very, very important. It's not going to be an annual audit of your process. It's almost a daily check on your processes. And the third part that is also very important is keeping up with the tool set. As I alluded to earlier, with the advent of AI, when simulation, modeling, all the new tool sets that are coming up, how can you leverage them to the best? And integrate them into your processes so that they can deliver for your people is going to be the key.
So, with the rise of digital transformation, AI, and then evolving terms like Industry 4.0 and 5.0, what do you see as the key changes happening within engineering industries?
Yeah, look, Courtney, I don't have a crystal ball from to say, what is coming next. It's very difficult. One of the things we teach in our engineering management leadership program is actually a course of technologies for tomorrow. And the reason why we teach that course is that you probably don't know what is going to change next, for as you said, industry 5.0, industry actually they're talking now 6.0 already, right? So the technology is going to continuously going to churn, and there will be a lot of disruptions because disruption is nowadays a common thing in industry. So having a know-how of those technologies that are out there that are going to disrupt us, having that understanding is very important. But I think more important than that is going to be how can you leverage those technologies that are already out there. And I'll give one example to kind of articulate my point in a better way. So think about Uber, for example. Really, when you see the success of Uber, Uber was not successful. It did not really invent any technology. What it really did was it platformed all the technologies together. For example, payment gateways always existed. Uber just took that, right? GPS systems always existed. Uber integrated that into its system, right? Having a platform where users can come in and seek their product always existed. Uber just platformed it in a better way. So I think what is going to be, who are the winners for future are going to be, are not the ones who create those technologies alone, but the ones who can platform those technologies, who can synergize these multiple technologies that are coming and bring them together and really create a synergy out of them, is what is going to really be the are going to be the market winners. And that's what you want in the leaders, to understand, okay, 5 year 10 years from now, which technologies are going to be prevalent, and you need to leverage those technologies.
So, building on that, how do you think engineering leaders can have the mindset and approach needed to innovate? What steps can leaders take to foster innovation, even when those eureka moments don't happen spontaneously?
Yeah, if I don't want to give away a lot from my own work, because I'm mindful of not sharing something that I'm not supposed to share. But I'll give you one example, which is also a technology that has really evolved over many years, and I'll take this as an example to kind of leverage that string that you're pulling on. You probably heard of a term called virtual reality, right? So virtual reality, eventually, there are many names for that. Eventually now called XR. So anything to do with reality is what is happening in that space. It also ties into the digital transformation part of it. I'll give one example of that. We are using right now XR in our course itself. So what we are now doing is that, as you probably know, Courtney, very well, is that we have a in our last semester we are doing a capstone project. So now what we are saying is that since this is an online program, a lot of our students are looking at and saying, hey, how can I get that experience of this product creation remotely? I'm located somewhere in East Coast and this factory is located somewhere in West Coast. How can I get that experience? How can I get this immersion remotely? Every day I want to feel that. So what we are now working on is with some of the companies is that if they have that remote XR environment, our students will get that remote experience directly, leveraging the technology that exists. So they, for example, if they want to go into a grinding shop and see how a grinding work is happening, sitting in their sofa, they'll be able to do the grinding or experience how grinding happens. Or if they want to create a part remotely and participate, let's say in a development effort in a multicultural team, you will be able to participate that through these different XR, I would say, setups. So this is just one example, and this is going to be very disruptive, not only for education, but for many, many industries in many ways.
So, with teams spread across countries and cultures, beyond using tools like Zoom, what else can help keep teams aligned, productive, and working smoothly across
Mhm.
time zones and even different cultures?
Yeah, I wish I had a magic pill for that. It is not an easy task to get a multicultural team, um, rally across a common goal. But I would also say the solution is right there itself. I think there are structural ways on going about this. Um, as you are, there will be always people who will always say, look, if this is something has to be done, a team in one room, all heads together, all hands on the same deck, physically is the best proposition. Agree. There is no question about it. Doing anything in person together, probably there's no replacement for that. I'm the first one to accept that. But then at the same time, you also understand that what all strengths that different teams can bring, you may not be able to leverage those strengths if you cannot bring them all together. So that's the constraint that we need to work through. So if you can rally the teams around that goal, that look, there are strengths of all these individuals, and they all will be able to contribute to the common goal. If you can sell that, I think that's the first win, in my opinion, you can achieve. The second thing that I always feel is a very common problem that happens is that on to achieve a common goal, to reach that common, I would say, goal post. What always happens is that there is sometimes not very clear direction on the roles and responsibilities. And to me, that is the crux of the matter. If you have multicultural, multidimensional, people with multiple backgrounds, I think having those set rules of roles and responsibilities is extremely important. Identifying what are the deliverables from each team and how those deliverables from each team are going to come together and derive the final solution for you. So laying that out in a very clear form is going to be very important. There are tools like A3, as they call it, RACI. These kind of tools can be leveraged to kind of make an overall charter for these deliverables. But the better, before you start putting the teams in, you want to make sure that these rules of engagement are already in place.
So, could you share an example from your experience as a leader where you faced a significant challenge related to time zones, cultural differences, or miscommunication? Specifically, if you have a situation where expectations were set, but there was a misunderstanding or a conflict within the team.
Plenty of those. I always say you learn from your own mistakes and you learn from watching people make mistakes. I prefer the latter than the one before, but I would probably say, honestly, these things happen when you have teams that are spread across. If you ask me for an example, one that comes to the top of my mind is that when we were developing a particular product in my current company, when I had the responsibility as a director of engineering organization, the product was very, I would say, fast track product. We had to come up with a product in 9 months of time. It was something which was required by our customer. We had already sold the product and we wanted to get to the market. So the go to market need was extremely quick. Normally, just to give you a reference for it, what we were going to develop in 9 months normally would take at least 36 months in an average way of producing it. So we had teams actually spread in three different areas. So we had a team in US, we had a team that was based in India, and we had a team that was based in Romania. So you can imagine three different time zones and challenges plenty. It was not an easy task to start with. The biggest challenge for us was, of course, time zone, but then the other part of it is the language challenges. While we all say English is English, English is also different. The interpretation of technical terms by different people in different countries. I'll give you one simple example. The metric system versus the imperial system of units of measurement itself throws people apart. And you'll be surprised that it is something that sometimes you don't even think about, right? So let's say if a drawing is here, we are used to inches. In India, they don't understand inches. They talk centimeters and meters. So we never thought about it. When we send drawings, we assume that they know it is inches, but it is not. And they can completely disrupt your or distort your drawing. So understanding those things beforehand, and if you have not understood them, then you will face those consequences, and they can be really challenging.
And have you faced misunderstandings with other teams due to cultural differences or misaligned expectations?
Yeah, you have to have those difficult discussions. I would also say, it's also depends on teams, right? Generally, I'm a believer that you don't wake up every day morning and say I'm going to create 20 mistakes, right? You come here and everybody wants to do their best in general. That's my assumption. I always start with that thought process that, yeah, we all want to be successful and we all want our team members to be successful. That collaborative nature of human being is present in us all. So, yes, we generally have those discussions, but I think once you can rally everybody around a common goal again and tell them, look, this is where we need to go, this is what we really need to achieve. I have always seen people come along, people, they will rally together to deliver on what is required. But to your point, having those regular discussions, rather than finger pointing, bring it to the process. So where did process fail us? I always say generally it's not people who fail us. It is the processes that fail us. So bringing it together and saying, okay, where was that lacuna in our process? What did really go wrong in the process? And bringing that process forward and then, empowering people to correct that process will eventually lead you to success.
Excellent. And what key trends do you see shaping engineering management, including emerging technologies, new processes, and leadership shifts?
It's a it's a very tough question. That it's a great question, but it's probably one of the toughest question that is on top of every engineering leader's mind, right? What is it that I need to be worried? What is it that keeps you awake at night? It's kind of what you're really asking, right? What should I be worried of? What is going to hit me that I have never thought through? So probably the two dimensions to this, right? The first part of this that whichever segment or whichever vertical of the industry you are in, irrespective of whether you are in healthcare or whether you are in energy or whether you are in water or whether you are in space, irrespective of which sector you are in, the change in technology, the rate of change in the tool set that you are dealing with is just tremendous. And it is actually that any technology change that's happening is actually hitting across all the verticals simultaneously. Gone are the days when something was invented. For example, internet was invented maybe at least 30 years before it came to the commercial market, right, for space. But that's gone are those days. Anything that is being implemented in SpaceX is turned around by Tesla and put in the cars. I mean, that's the advent of change happening today, and that's everybody's leveraging. So the impact of technology is probably one dimension that I would say every engineering leader should always be wary of, should always be worried about, and should always be thinking, okay, how am I going to leverage it? Because it's not an option. It's not that an option for me to say, I'm not going to use AI in my company. That's not an option. I got to figure it out with all the challenges that it brings. I got to figure it out how to embrace that change in technology. So, embracing the technology for the betterment of your own good is the first dimension. The second dimension that I feel is most overlooked in by most of the leaders is that how are you going to make sure that your people embrace it? It's one thing for me as a leader to say, yeah, tomorrow we are going to start using AI in our coding. But how am I going to prepare my team? How am I going to make sure that my team is ready and ready to embrace that? So that change management thing that Courtney, spoke about digital transformation, right? That digital transformation on the technology side is happening. I don't have control over external environment, but I do have control on the internal environment, which is my people, my tools, my resources within the four walls of my organization. How am I going to enable my own organization for that digital transformation is something that one has to always keep thinking and always making those small changes for your own organization to be ready for those changes.
So, given the hype and the expectations around AI this year, do you think it's been oversold or is it still a tool that many don't fully understand?
I don't see it oversold. I sometimes feel it's underappreciated by industry. Certain industries, they are seeing it, right? It's right in their face of it, especially the content creation, marketing industry, education industry. For them, AI is kind of right there, right? It's on their, it's no more on their doorsteps. It's right in their living room. So those industry probably cannot hide from it. But then there are many other industries which are probably thinking that, oh, AI is far-fetched and it's not going to really impact them. I am a firm believer it's already here. It's going to impact, it's going to disrupt. And if you as an organization are saying that I'm probably not going to be impacted by it, you're fooling yourself. There is no single industry on this planet which will be left without feeling the impact of AI. The sooner you embrace it, it will be better for you. So that's my short answer to, it's definitely not oversold. It is undersold by, or it is underappreciated by many industries who feel that it's not going to impact.
All right, Dr. Singh, I only have a few questions left. What people skills should engineering leaders prioritize in the coming years to effectively manage teams and drive success in a tech-driven world?
Yeah. Well, that's the reason we created engineering management leadership program, right? And there is no, I'll be probably very, I would say, it's probably not appropriate for me to say there are three skills that every, or four, or five, or nine, So I don't think I'll be able to answer that, okay, follow these attributes or skills that you need in a leader. I would probably say the skills that you learned yesterday are not relevant today. So I'll probably start with this thing is that you have to be a lifelong learner for you to make sure that you are ready with the skill set that you need for tomorrow. An EML program, engineering management leadership program that we have created. One of the things we do about this program is we refresh it every semester. And that's the reason why we refresh it every semester because we don't want to teach stale skills which will not be utilized for tomorrow's problems. So, are there any particular skills that you really need to learn? I would probably say one thing is you got to be a lifelong learner. That is the most important skill that any engineering leader must embrace because changes are going to happen. And what you learned yesterday, that skill is probably not going to work today. So that's my shorter answer in case, Courtney, you expected like a list of skill sets.
Okay, Dr. Singh, I've got one more question. What advice would you give engineers looking to move into management or leadership roles?
I think the first thing is for you to advance in your career. I always say, first thing, you got to talk to yourself. Like having that clarity in you, in deep in your heart itself, you got to be clear on what career path you want to achieve or where do you want to go. And this is one discussion I generally have with a lot of engineers come to me, talk to me, given my career path. They always come and ask this question, hey, GB, should I continue to be a technical steward in whatever area I am and continue to take that technical path and reach to the topmost level in that technical track? Or can I grow a little bit, expand a little bit more and get into the management, right? Always I get this question. And I always tell my reply to is that first you got to be sure that what is it that you will make you internally happy. Look inside, if you are not happy with achieving something, everything else is in vain. So first and foremost, you got to be clear what you want to achieve. Let's say if you are happy being just technical, somebody who wants to remain technical, then continue on your technical path. If you are somebody who probably enjoys people interaction, who is really interested in, learning and going all the way up to the corporate career ladder, then management path is also important. But honestly, Courtney, one thing is to be very much which is at times completely missed is that there is also a gray area in between these two. Even if you remain technical and you may not have people reporting, but let's say you are a technical lead, you still need good management skills. You still need good stewardship. You still need to understand how to lead teams. Even though you may not have direct reports, but you may be leading some very critical programs for the company. And you cannot be a good leader without having those leadership skills. So that understanding is very important that calling yourself as a leader doesn't mean you have 100 people reporting to you. Leadership is what sort of responsibility are you carrying on your shoulders, and he or she how are they going to deliver against those deliverables. So extremely important to understand that whether you are in technical track or whether you are in I would say management track, leadership skills are definitely not an option for both the tracks. And they will really help you if you go through these kind of engineering. And doesn't matter, it's EML program, whichever program you take, leadership skills are required in both the tracks.
And that is an excellent note to end. Thank you so much for chatting with us today, Dr. Singh. Where can people go to learn more about what we talked about today?
Yeah, indeed. I'm sure this was just a quick introduction on this topic, but if you want to get details about our program, or even if you have further questions about the courses that are involved in this program, then you can go to mseml.sandiego.edu. That's the URL that will take you to our program's website, and you will be able to get most of your questions answered there. There is also a link for you to connect with our marketing team, and they can also connect with you with me. So all the best with your journey into this engineering management leadership foray. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you have a great day.